I dropped everything in my hand. I roll him over a bit, and he's panicking. He's scared. He's like, Mikey, help me. And I was like, I'm going, bro, I'm going. And I'm rolling him around, and I have him on his back at this point, but I can't pick him up. I promise, Mike. I go, what? And when it's my time to go, don't let him take me to the hospital. Just let me go. I said, I promise, brother, I'm not going to let him take me. Lord, I know I haven't come to you in a long time, and I have one thing to ask of you. Save me or take me.
He lost his mom, dad, and brother. He hit rock bottom, ready to give up, until one prayer changed everything. This is proof that no one's too broken for God to fix. You're watching The Venting Vault, where we vent and we grow forever. Hit subscribe, share this video with someone who needs to know God is not done yet. So what's up, Mikey? Welcome to the podcast, brother. It's a pleasure to have you here, man. How are you feeling today?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. It was a long Monday. Mondays are usually
pretty long.
Yeah, usually the worst, but you know, the good Lord woke us up.
Amen.
He got us out of bed, got us through the day, and now we're here recording for the Venting Vault. Big ministry.
Amen.
Our group. So let's go.
Let's go, brother. And you know, for those that do not know, this is gonna be another testimony episode, and it's gonna be a really powerful testimony, guys. So you know, just make sure you guys you guys tune in. So for those that do not know your story, can you take us back from the beginning? What was it like for you growing up? Because I know you did mention to me that going back then to church, it was more like a tradition, you know? So what was it like for you growing up?
So, you know, as most Valley Hispanic families, you know, we grow up with church. You know, every Sunday, you're going to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
Every Sunday, you're going to go with your primos, with your uncles, because they go to church. You know, and I would go and get dressed, go. But I would go because it felt like I had to go, not because I wanted to go.
Okay.
You know, and I mean, I loved my church, right? It was a church that my family helped build. You know, my family helped start that church. You know, we were the first members within the church, and you know, I saw that church grow from one building to 3 buildings, you know, but growing up, it was just because, oh, you're gonna go to church because the family goes to church, not because I wanted to go to church. And I was, you know, it was just like, okay, let's get it over with, gotta go to church, right? And now I appreciate the reasons and the times I did go to church because of everything I learned. Subconsciously, it was stuck in my mind, right?
Yeah.
But I appreciate everything now for everything I learned within the church I grew up in. And but yeah, man, I mean, it was more tradition than for my own, you know, wants. And now, after everything, you know, you will learn, you know, we'll go through everything. You know, my testimony, it's, you know.
And around what age were you when you started going to church?
Oh, man, I'm going to say 8.
Wow, okay.
9 years old, maybe.
Damn, yeah.
And I was every Sunday, right? Every Sunday we were there. We grew up within the youth group.
Yeah.
We would do, the youth groups had to clean the church every Saturday. And then we had our youth group meetings, right? And, you know, it was just little things that we did. And it was mainly all my cousins, right? Like all the cousins and their cousins on the other side of the family. So we grew up around each other, centered through church. But it still felt like I was forced. I don't want to say forced, but like if I was, it wasn't that I wanted to be there, you know?
Yeah.
And it was something that I was told to do. But, you know, I like I said, I do appreciate everything I learned in my time within
Going to church. Wow, awesome. Is there any good memories that you had while you were still young going to church and participating in the youth group?
Yes, yes. So we would do every Christmas. We did a Christmas play, and we got to play different parts, from reenacting, Scrooge, and all
Yeah.
that, the Christmas story, and some other stories that my uncle had come up with and written down, and we did a youth group trip to Astro World in Houston.
Okay.
That weekend it was a church. It was a church-filled weekend at Astro World. They had gospel singers come in, and it was just enjoyable, and something I had never experienced because I was only just used to our church.
Okay.
And going to that event, I saw the different churches, the different, I guess, denominations, right?
Yeah.
Like different religions out there. But it was interesting to see like all the different things. We had our own church shirts. There was one bad memory though.
Oh, okay.
It's not bad. Well, for me it was bad. For everyone else, it was just like, oh man. But our youth group was invited to a volleyball tournament of different churches. And me being the athletic one, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, it's just a volleyball tournament. We got this. No, we didn't. I went up to hit the ball, and my knee separated. So my knee opened up, basically just opened, and just came back as soon as I hit the ground. So I lost my knee, and I hyperextended everything. Damn. And I fell down, and in the church event, the church thing, I said one loud bad word.
Oh, okay.
In the middle of the floor, rolling around. In pain.
Yeah. Kind of figure.
Oh, man, it was the worst. But, I'll always hold on to that memory. It was the first time I ever really, really got injured. But it was, we were there to have a good time, fellowship, and, show our love for the Lord.
Amen.
But, that was one of the good and bad memories I had.
Awesome. And I was going to say, when was it that you actually started to noticing, like, okay, I need to go to church? Like, if you can just go ahead and I know you already give us a little bit of a background of, your childhood, and let's get into what happened in order for you to know about God.
So I always knew about God and Jesus and the Bible, but I didn't understand and fully know them. Like I knew who God was. I knew who Jesus was. I knew of the Bible, but I didn't have a complete understanding of who they really were, or what the Bible really was. Like I grew up in the church, but I didn't grow up,
Yeah.
And a lot had happened, from one of the last times I remember being in the church to me not going anymore. Life happens.
Yes, of course.
I was working at a job that required me to work 7 days a week. Unfortunately, I grew up and grew out of that part of my life, right? Like graduated and went straight to work, and it was 7 days a week, and just stepped away from that. And it was just little things like that, man. And I always knew I needed to go back. Right, but I never found the time. I never made the time, and ultimately led to something drastic to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I'm on that road back. But again, like something bad, a few bad things had to happen for me to understand what was happening and how to handle that situation or those situations. And yeah, man, it was, like,
It was tough. And what exactly happened? If you don't mind
so
telling us.
I was, I had to, so one, I had to leave the valley, right? I left the valley for a few years. I moved to Dallas, one for work, right? And I was like, I'm going to move to Dallas. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to bust my butt. I'm going to stay with the cousins. I'm going to send money home, take care of my parents, take care of my brother, take care of my son and my nephews, right? Like, that was my whole thing of me moving over there. And don't get me wrong, I did all that. But I also started living worldly.
Okay.
I started living like the fast life that you hear about,
Yeah.
Like, oh, I gotta, I'm in the big city. Dallas and the Valley are completely different, right? And
Yeah.
over there, when they say everything's fast, everything is fast, and they're not talking about the traffic.
Yeah.
Everything, every part of life over there is fast. So I had a good job and an understanding job, right? Like, they let me work the hours I needed to work and do the things I needed to do and get paid some good money, right? So every paycheck, I'd take care of my bills first, and then whatever I could send home to mom, dad, my brother, my son, I was taken care of, right? So I was doing what I needed to do, right? And then I started noticing little things were changing, right? Like, I picked up drinking. I was drinking more. I was drinking every day, basically. I was drinking happy hour at the bar for a few hours.
Okay.
I started smoking cigarettes. Cigarettes led to smoking weed. I was doing that, drinking too. Then I started, pills.
All that was in Dallas, though, right?
All that was in Dallas.
Never here in the Valley or nothing?
Never here in the Valley. I would drink here in the
Yeah.
Valley, but I never smoked weed. I never really smoked cigarettes. I never really did pills here. I never did coke, and it was just, I guess over there I was filling that void, missing home, missing the people down here. And the best way for me to cope with that was, let's get some drinks, let's smoke some weed, let's take some pills, let's snort some, and I did all that.
Yeah.
And I did that daily, 5-6 days out of the week I was doing that. And it never interfered with my work. Right? I told myself, as long as I can work and my bills get paid, I can do whatever I want. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that was my whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what I gotta do and then do what I can do. So I was working, going to the bar. Next day, working, go to the bar. Doing that 5-6 times a week. And then it started to catch up with me, man. Like, I started noticing I was getting angry, losing sleep. Like, everything was just agitating me, like just little things, and I was like, oh, what's going on? Let's drink some more to get over this. That wasn't the case. Like, that wasn't it, man. Then COVID hit. And it made a mess for a lot of us.
Yes, it did.
A lot of us didn't understand what was really going on. A lot of us, were laid off. The company I worked for, they were a cable distribution center. So they did cable products, telephone products. We still had business, and we still had to do what we had to do. So we had to work. So I was working during COVID times. And it was crazy, man. Like, I'd get up, go to work, and everybody has a mask.
Yeah.
Right?
It's different, less people in the streets.
Yeah, it was so
Yeah,
crazy.
I remember that.
Like, it was crazy. So then all of a sudden it's like my brother called me one day. It was January 2021. Right? I had already been over there for 3 years. I'd been up there for about 3 years. brother called me and he's like, yo, dad just tested positive for COVID. He's going to quarantine. I said, okay. Make sure he gets fluids. Make sure, He's like, I know, I got him. For a long time, it was just me and my dad.
Mm-hmm.
My brother had gotten married. He had moved away. My mom and dad had separated. So it was just me and dad for a long time.
Okay.
Before I moved, right? And
so he was by himself at that time when you had moved to Dallas?
No, my brother had moved back in with us because he was going through a divorce.
Oh, okay.
So
understood.
There was I guess a blessing in disguise, ¿verdad? At the cost of my brother losing his marriage, right? But he wasn't alone. My dad had my brother and then his girlfriend at the time living at the house. So she ended up going to stay where dad was quarantined, going to stay at her family's house. And my brother was there at the apartment with my dad. And it got to the point where my dad, was struggling to breathe. The whole COVID thing, like anyone who had pre-existing conditions, was automatically at risk, the highest at risk there were, right? So then dad tells my brother, he's like, I'm going to have to go in. Like, I can't breathe. So my brother calls an ambulance. They pick up my dad, and he called me, and he's like, Dad's going to the hospital. I was like, okay, what hospital? He said, Edinburgh Regional. I said, all right. Like a few minutes later, he calls me. He's like, no, he's going to DHR. Edinburgh Regional's packed.
Okay.
So he's going to DHR. I said, all right. I'm going to try to go down there. I have some sick time. I have some PTO I'm going to use. I'm going to try to go down there. All of a sudden, like a day or two later, I'm at work, and I wasn't having a good day. I'm at work, and my brother calls. He's like, yo, heads up, Dad's going to be intubated. And if you remember correctly, anyone who was intubated at that time, at the peak of COVID, they weren't coming out of it, right? Like you heard all the stories, all the horror stories. Everybody intubated was stuck. Yeah. So I go, okay. Dad has a DNR. I know that because I was his power of attorney, my medical power of attorney. So Dad has a DNR, bro. What are we going to do? He's like, we have to follow Dad's wishes. He's going to get intubated. Okay. So they put him on intubation. He was on intubation for a few days. I was going to wait for the end of the following week to get my check to come down, right? So Dad, this was like January 29th. He got intubated, something like that. And then February turned into, it was the beginning of February. Brother calls me. He's like, they put Dad from the regular ICU to the, I guess, in ICU, they have a step down, which means you're getting out. Okay. And they have another unit above ICU, like critical, right?
Okay.
I'm like, why? What happened? Well, his breathing's getting harder, the machines, things like that. And I said, it's the last thing we need. I go, I'm going to try, bro. I'm going to leave this weekend. I'm going to rent a vehicle, and I'm going to head down there. I got to see Dad. That was in my mind. I'm at work for those few days, and I'm just thinking, like, I'm lost. Like, I was going through the motion of work, but I didn't even know what I did. Like,
yeah.
I remember being on the forklift. I remember at my computer. I remember emailing. I remember looking up locations and stuff, but I don't even know if any of that was right.
Yeah. What kind of emotions were you feeling throughout the whole day?
Those few days, man, it was like guilt. Guilt, because I felt like I had stepped away. Like I left.
You felt like you left your responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And at the time, up there, we were dealing with some other stuff within the family, right? And my cousin had up and left the family for a few weeks, turned into months, turned into about a year. We hadn't seen him. We hadn't talked to him. At the beginning of the year, he came out to the house one day, to the apartment, and he's like, I need a place to stay. okay, you can crash on the couch. That's all we have, right? He said, all right, I don't care. I just need a place to stay. I'm done doing what I've been doing. I'm done with that life. I need you guys. I need family. And it ended up being a blessing in disguise for him because that February 3rd, the nurses called my brother and they were like, hey, your dad, unfortunately he's getting worse. The doctor thinks there's not much more we can do. We want to start bringing in the family. Right? So I was talking to my cousin about it up there, and I'm like, yo, Dad, this is going on with Dad. Like, I have to get down there. Do you want to go? He's like, I'll use some time, but let's go. I said, all right. February 5th was my mom's birthday. So I remember talking to my mom that morning, and she was asking about my dad. And at the time, my brother wasn't able to talk to or visit my mom because he ended up getting COVID. So he was on his first week of COVID quarantine.
So as soon as you were coming back, another family member had COVID.
Yeah. Well, the week that my dad got moved into that critical unit, my brother tested positive for COVID. So I was like, I'm going to get there Friday night, Saturday morning. And like, I'm not even going to be able to see him, right? Because he's going to be on his second week of 15 days, 14 days, something like that. So I said, all right, brother, I'll be there soon. Friday's coming up. I'm leaving Friday early from work at 12, and I'll be there. Around 3:14, I get a call from the hospital, and they tell me, your dad's on his last breaths. We took out the intubated tubes, and he's struggling. He's on his last breaths. So we were able, he was awake, but he wasn't alert, right?
Okay.
And I remember telling him, Dad, I love you, Dad. I love you. I'm sorry I'm not there. It should be me. It should be me, Dad. I should be in that bed, and you should be at home taking care of Steve, my brother. And he just moaned and groaned. Like, I don't know if he heard me. I don't know if he understood, but it was that part, right? And I was just like, oh. The nurse gets the phone, and she's like, okay, we're going to stay on the line for a minute. We'll see how he goes or what happens. And I can hear the background. I can hear the machine. And they hang up, right? And we're going to call you back, sir. A few minutes later, I get the call. He's gone. And I lost it. I screamed in my room. I got up and walked to the living room. My cousin was on the couch, and I go, yo, get up. Dad just passed. And I'm crying, and my nephews were there, man. And I just remember knocking on my aunt's door, who was my dad's little sister. I knocked on the door, and she's like, what? I go, get out here now. Come outside, please. Come outside. And she heard it in my voice, right? So she opens the door, and she's like, what happened? I go, the nurses just called. Dad's gone. And in that moment, I just felt heavy, just heavy, head to toe heavy. I couldn't move. I sat down in the chair at the table, and I just slumped into the chair. And I was just sitting there like, this didn't just happen. I felt guilty. I felt heavy, and I was just crying. My brother's crying on the phone, and he's in quarantine at home alone. I at least had people around me. He was quarantined alone. I'll never forget that phone call. I'll never forget the sounds I heard. It was tough.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
You need to come home now. I said, I can't. I don't have money to come home today. It was in the middle of the week. I was like, I got to wait till I get paid. He's like, just come home soon. I need you here. I said, all right, bro, I'm on my way. As soon as I can, as soon as I get my check, I'm there. Right? So I messaged the HR people at my work, and I was like, hey, you know, my dad just passed. I'm not going to work the rest of the week. You know, and they collected some money at work for me. They sent it to me. You know, they're like, whatever you need, this much time, you know, don't worry about your PTO. Don't worry about any of that. Take your time, right? I said, all right, thank you. It ends up being that my cousin, who was from down here, was up there visiting our other cousin. So I told him, bro, I'll put gas the whole way. Just pick me up when you leave. He's like, I leave Friday. I said, I don't care. Pick me up. Pick me up. I'll fuel the whole trip. If I'll pay for food, everything. He said, don't worry about it. I'll pick you up. I get home, right, after 12 and a half, 13 hours, right, the drive. I get home, and I can't even see my brother, right? And I had, on that day, I was driving down. I had messaged a friend of mine, and I asked her, I was like, hey, if I send you some money, can you take my brother some food? She's like, yeah, whatever you need, I'll take it. Just, you know, send me what you can. So I send her, I send her some money, and I was like, just take him some Gatorades, you know, some medicine, you know, and like a soup, you know, something he can eat. She's like, I got you. So I think she had taken him some caldo, you know, taking him some antibiotics, some Mexican meds, and a lot of, you know, Gatorades, juice, the sueros, you know.
Tea.
Yeah, so she went and dropped it off at the door and left, and then he got it afterwards, right? But I showed up wanting just to go to the apartment and lay in the room where my dad was, right? Like I wanted to be in his bed, and I couldn't, right? Like my brother's tested positive for COVID. He was in the second week of quarantine. No one had really cleaned the house, right? Like after all that. And so I remember having to wait like 3 days for them to cremate my dad. And I was here in the valley, and I was just like hanging out with my cousins, talking to people, seeing people. But I really couldn't. One person I wanted to see, my brother, I couldn't. But I couldn't hang out with him. I couldn't see him. And I just remember getting the call like, hey, your dad's ashes are ready for pickup. And I was like, oh okay, I'll be there soon, right? And in my head, I was like, I don't want to go. Like I didn't know how. Like I didn't know how to go pick him up. You know, like I didn't know how to react, right? To react to going and picking up his ashes. And at that time, everyone who had passed from COVID was cremated, right? So there was a long wait. That's why it took so long. So I was, you know, I had been in contact with work, and I had told them, hey, you know, this is going on. I'm still waiting, you know, cremation stuff. My brother is sick with COVID now. I need to stay a little longer. And they were like, stay as long as you need to stay. You know, you have up until here for bereavement for your father, but after that, we will have to use. I was like, whatever you have to use it. My PTO, my sick days, whatever. I don't care. Okay, so I ended up staying another week and a half. Right, so I left back like in the middle of February. That first day I got to see my brother, I hugged him, and we had beer.
And this was after the 14 days of... Yeah, okay.
After the 14 days, I was able to just hang out with him.
Yeah.
You know, we started reminiscing. We started going through some of his stuff, you know, my dad's stuff, and what we're going to keep, what we're not going to keep. His girlfriend had come over and took a bunch of his stuff. We kept a lot of things of my dad. And, you know, having to tell my son and my nephews that grandpa was gone was another one, man. Like, my son and my nephews were my dad's world. Mm-hmm. Like, he did everything for them. So having to tell them grandpa's gone, that was heartbreak, man. It was like a choke, right? Like, it was choking us to tell them. But, you know, they understood that grandpa's in a better place. You know, he's in heaven and he's watching over them, right? That's what we told them. That's, you know, that's what they believe in. That's what we believe. You know, my dad was a devout Catholic, but he had strayed away, as most do as they get older. Mm-hmm. But at the end time, in the last few times, he was on his faith. I like to believe, at least, he was on his faith, right? So then I get back to Dallas, and the bills don't stop. I had to get back to work. I had things to do, right? So back at it. Boom, 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 boom. Working, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. The bars had shut down, so I really wasn't, I wasn't drinking anymore. But I wasn't drinking in public, but I'd pick up a 12-pack, and just go to the house and throw them back. And then my birthday came around in August 30th. I had a little party thing at work. Everyone pitched in. We went and got pizzas and snacks and burgers and it was just a potluck of food, right? I get home and my aunt's like, "Hey, I know it's your birthday, but the doctor is doing an event and I can't leave." She was a office manager for the doctor's office. I said, "Oh, okay, no worries. I'm just going to order food and I'm going to have food here and now that's fine." She's like, "We'll do something tomorrow." I was like, "I work, but yeah, that's fine." So I order dinner. I have dinner alone, bro, on my birthday. And I'm not a person who likes to celebrate their birthday. I don't really celebrate birthdays or holidays. To me, everything is just a day. Yeah. Right? Because I was up there working and I didn't have my son, my brother, my nephews, my dad, or my mom with me. There was no reason for me to celebrate, right? But people invited me places, I would go, whatever. But as for me, the day personally was just a regular day. Mm-hmm. Right? Even to this day, I'm still like that. But I'm learning to grow out of that. So my birthday came around. I had dinner alone. And I waited for my aunt to get home. I fell asleep on the couch and got up, went to my room. She got home like at 12, 1 o'clock, and I stayed asleep. And then I just felt in the morning, I got up at 5:30. I had to be at work by 6:30. I was like, I'm just tired. I'm going to call in. I'm going to use today. I'm going to call in. It's my birthday. My birthday weekend with it. I'm going to call in. So I called in. I fell asleep. And I got up and I felt worse. And I was like, here we go. This is it. And I hadn't gotten COVID at all.
Okay.
Right? So I was looking for the whole symptoms with loss of taste, runny nose, cough, congestion. I didn't have any of that, bro. I was fine. Just my body was hurting. Yeah. So right in the corner of my block, it was an empty big parking lot for a restaurant that had closed. They were doing those drive-up COVID stations, COVID
the swabs,
testing. Yeah, right? I was like, "Tia, I don't feel good. I'm going to go over here." So as soon as I left, I know she sprayed down the room, sprayed down everything in my room. I went and tested. "Oh, sir, you're positive." So they gave me the paper, positive, test, result, whatever. So I took a picture, sent it to my HR lady. I go, I tested positive, recommend 2 weeks, whatever. And she's like, "Okay." My company was still paying. If you got COVID, they were still paying us 85% of my check.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Okay.
So I was like, I don't have to worry. I'm still going to get money.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not missing work. So I was like, okay. All right. So did the whole 2 weeks quarantine. I was still getting paid. And my aunt would get me food. She'd leave it at my door and walk to her part of the apartment. And I'd open my door. And I'd eat my food, put the plate back, and then I'd tell her it's there. And she'd come over and like saw everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 2 weeks pass. I go back to the same poll, the whole swab thing. So they swabbed me. Oh, you're negative. Okay, I can go back to work? Yeah, you're cleared for work. You did 2 weeks? I go, yeah. Okay, yeah, sir, you can go back. So I went back. I tested. I told my family I tested negative, but I'm just going to chill in the room, clean up, the mess I had in there. And that's what I did. I stayed in my room, and I was cleaning up everything, throwing trash, throwing all this stuff. That was Saturday. Sunday, same thing. I came out of the room for a little bit. I sat in the patio. I still felt sick. My body was still hurting, but I didn't think anything of it. So this puts us like September 15, 16. So after my birthday, it was my brother's birthday, September 7th. So I called him. Like I was quarantined, so I called him. Right? So then September 14th was my dad's birthday. So I called him. And I was like, no answer. Right? Because he was gone. And I'm just like, dang. But I heard his voicemail, right? I heard his voice one last time. And I just got sad, and I got into my head, right? And I was just like, I was still quarantined, the last part of my quarantine days. And so that Sunday, I was still sad, but I was thinking of my dad, just an emotional state, right?
Yeah.
So then Monday morning comes around. I get up 5 o'clock, shower, and it took me a good 10 minutes to get in the shower, just to get in the shower. And I was like, what's going on? Like, I'm that tired? I just felt ugly.
Were you still having pain on your body, or that went away?
I didn't have pain, but I just felt sluggish, heavy.
Yeah.
Just like, right? And I was like, it was dragging. Like, So then I get out of the shower, get my clothes, get dressed, go outside. And my car and my front door was at least like 50 yards. A good 50 yards, right? And I was like, it took me about 35 minutes to get to my car because I would have to stop and catch my breath every 10 steps. 10 steps, I was out of breath. Right? Like wheezing, bro. Just like, and I was like, this isn't right. Another 10 steps, and my car looked further, and it wasn't even that far. And I was just like, oh, my God. Until then, I do all that, get through doing what I have to do. I get in my car. I put the air full blast hitting me in the face, and I can't catch my breath. I'm just sitting there, just lost. And I'm just like, oh, no, this isn't right. Like, this isn't good. This isn't good. So I get to work, and I'm like, let me call them, let them know that I am here, but something's wrong. I get on the phone. Nobody's answering the front desk. I pull up to the front of the building.
Yeah.
There's glass doors, glass windows. Looking inside, and they're all just standing around. Nobody's at the desk. Nobody's answering phones. So I'm still struggling to breathe. I'm just having trouble breathing, and I'm just like, oh, no. So I look around, see who I see in the office, and I see the HR lady. She was there, and I was like, let me shoot her a message. She didn't answer the message. Called her. She picked up, hey, Mike, what's going on? I go, ma'am, I'm in the parking lot. I'm having trouble breathing. I can't catch my breath. She's like, what do you mean? I go, ma'am, I'm struggling to breathe. She's like, did you test? I was like, yeah, I tested on Saturday, and it came back negative, but I am having trouble breathing. She's like, oh, go down to the urgent care down the street. I said, oh, okay. So I texted my aunt, who was barely going to work. I was like, hey, Tia, I'm having trouble breathing. I don't feel good. It took me 35 minutes to get to my car this morning. She's like, get over here to my job right now. She worked at a doctor's office inside the hospital.
Okay.
I was like, I'm on my way, Tia. I'll be there. It's a 45-minute drive to my work from where I lived. And it was another 10 minutes from my apartment to where my aunt worked. So just hauling tail through traffic, right? Cutting in and out, going through just 85 on all the toll roads. The high. I didn't even have a toll sticker. I was taking it. But I was just going to take that toll road, get out of there. So I get to the hospital, and there's no parking. I drive around, and I'm like, where's the parking? Just looking around for the closest parking. I can't find anything. I circled the parking lot a few times. I get to the front door of the ER, and I'm like, seeing if anybody's there that I can wave down, honk, something, right? Nothing, bro. And I turn back towards the parking lot, and I see one nurse coming from the very end of the parking lot, right? I was like, I have to tell her, right? So I pull up to that nurse. I go, ma'am, I need to get into the ER. There's nowhere for me to park, but I'm having trouble breathing. She's like, sir, you're sweating. I go, ma'am, I'm telling you, I'm having trouble breathing. She's like, go to the front door. And from the middle of the parking lot where we were talking, she booked it, bro, full speed with all her stuff, full speed, just running to the door.
Yeah.
So I pull up. As soon as I pull up, 2 nurses are walking out, one of them with a wheelchair. What's going on, sir? I go, I can't breathe. I'm having trouble. It took me 35 minutes. I was telling the whole thing, right? And, no, sir, like, get in the wheelchair. We'll do this, we'll do that. I said, okay. I get in the wheelchair, and I was like, my car, worried about my car, but not even worried about me. My car's going to get towed. They're going to take it, blah. Don't worry about your car, sir. And I'm like, okay. And I was telling her, my aunt works upstairs. I just need to text her that I'm here. So text her real quick. We're going to put you in the bed. So I texted her. I'm downstairs, ER. My car needs to be moved. That's all I put, right? I'm on my way. And we're upstairs. She's upstairs. I'm in the gurney. And my oxygen level was at 55% and dropping.
Damn.
And
guessing that was bad, right?
yes. So normally your oxygen level is supposed to be 94, 97. That's average. Damn. I was at 55 and struggling.
That's like really low.
The doctor got upset because I was driving. He's like, you could have passed out, caused an accident. More people would have been in here. And I was like, just help me. Like, just. Yeah. So they were like, we're going to test you again for COVID, flu, all this, right? So they tested me, and they're like, you have COVID pneumonia. You have fluid in your lungs. There's a buildup of fluid. There's fluid in your chest cavity. You're holding on to fluid. We're going to have to admit you. We're going to have to intubate you. And I said, F no. You're not putting a tube in me. Sir, we have to. No, you're not. I was fighting them, bro. Like, it almost got to the point where I wanted to get up and just throw hands with them. Like, yeah. I didn't want to be intubated. I told them the reasons. They were still trying to convince me. My aunt came downstairs. She finally moved my car. She's like, what happened? He's going to be admitted, ma'am. His oxygen level's at 55 and dropping. But this time they had this big old nasal thing covering my mouth and my nose, just shooting pure oxygen, bro. Like, and I was still having trouble breathing.
Damn.
I was there, and we're going to have to admit you. We need to intubate. I go, you're not going to intubate me. You can admit me, but you're not intubating me. Fine, we're going to give you some medicine. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Okay. So I stayed the whole day in the ER. Then they moved me to another floor, and I was in that room for one night. And my oxygen level was at the 50s with that oxygen pumping air into my body, right? And they were like, we got a room for you in ICU. And that's the last thing I wanted to hear.
Yes.
You like I said, you had heard the stories. People who were intubated and in ICU.
They didn't make it.
So I was like, okay, this is it. Like, this is it. So then I was in the ICU floor for a while, and I was like, Lord, I know I haven't come to you in a long time, but I'm here now. And I have one thing to ask of you. Save me or take me. Either way, I'm ready to be home. Right? And I laid there. And I just kept saying that, Lord, save me or take me. I kept repeating it. So, I'm in ICU. I have an IV right here. I have one here. I have one here, and then I have one here that went straight to the heart. And I had to be in the ICU floor because they were giving me a medicine that could only be administered on the ICU floor for COVID. Right? And I was in the ICU floor for about 2.5 months. I forgot how to walk. I couldn't. They would barely sit me up on the side of the bed. They would try to get me up for therapy, physical therapy, but my oxygen wouldn't let me. I was just fighting it, like it was fighting, and I was losing, right? And I just kept saying, save me or take me. I'm ready to go home, right? My mom flew up. She spent a week with me in the hospital. My brother called me daily. My friends called me daily. But at the same time, I had reached out. I had reached out to some people who I felt that I did wrong. Right? Like, there were certain people that I had reached out to, and I was like, hey, I know you know what's going on. You've seen my brother's post. But if at any point I did you wrong, I want to apologize before I'm not here. And I reached out to at least 60 people, bro. Wow. People I hadn't heard from in years, people I hadn't talked to. And I was just like trying to make peace, for things that I may have done. I didn't know if it was my fault, if the reason we weren't close anymore was because of me, something I said, something I did. But I didn't want to leave on those terms. Like, I wanted to be forgiven if it was me. And at that point, I had already forgiven those who had done me wrong. Right? Like, me forgiving them wasn't for them. It was for me to be at peace. Uh-huh. Right? And me wanting to be forgiven for any wrongs I have done was for me to be at peace. I wanted to go to heaven knowing I was forgiven and I had forgave those. And I was ready. Like I said, I was ready. I just kept saying it. The whole 2.5 months of ICU, I was like, save me or take me. Save me or take me. I'm ready to go home. And I was moved out of ICU to a rehab facility where I had to relearn to walk. Through, and it's so crazy, man, because I couldn't tell myself to stand up out of the chair without wanting to fall.
Damn, that's crazy.
And it was just 2 months in laying down. And I was just like, oh no, how am I going to walk? So I had to use a walker for the first 2 weeks in rehab. I had to use a walker.
Were you scared that you were not going to be able to walk ever again?
At points when they told me I was going to have to do physical therapy because I had to learn to walk, it crossed my mind. It crossed my mind to where, like, that's it. Like, I'm going to be wheelchair bound. Right? Like, that was it. But no, thank the Lord, I was able to learn and get that done. So the last week of rehab, my mom called and she's like, hey, you're coming home. There's no fighting it. You're going to come home. Your brother and your cousin are going to go get you. So pack your stuff when you get discharged and you're coming home. And that's what happened, man. I ended up getting out of rehab a week and a half before Thanksgiving in 2021.
Okay. And were you able to walk already?
I had to use a walker. And it was the worst, man, because at least I at the point I thought it was the worst, ¿verdad? Because someone my age having to learn to relearn to walk again, have to learn to use a walker to get around, had to be dependent on somebody, ¿verdad? I wasn't used to it. I never thought I'd have to be that in that situation or in that part of my life where I had to depend on someone to help me get up.
Yeah.
You know, and things like that. And so I came home. My brother, my cousin went and picked me up. And my nephews were with my brother, and they were in awe of Dallas and the big city lights. Like everything was lit up because it was close to Thanksgiving, Christmas time. Like everything had lights, and you know, and they were like, "Oh, wow, this is like New York, right?" But you know, they were so little at the time, and I came home and I was home, and I was still trying to figure out why the Lord saved me, right? Like I knew He saved me, but what was the reason? Like I didn't understand, but I was like, something's gonna come up, something's gonna happen. I know because He saved me for a reason. But whatever it is, I'm here. But like whatever He has planned, I have to follow, because save me or take me, I'm coming home. So He saved me, so I was coming home. So I was here in the valley, and you know, I was spending time with my brother, with my mom, my nephews, family members down here, and I started noticing little things at home with my mom. My mom had a cirrhosis of the liver, you know, fatty liver disease as well, and it was non-alcoholic. She had a tumor the size of a loaf of bread in her stomach years before, and they had given her some medicine, and one of the possible side effects was going to be liver damage. And for her to have that surgery to remove that tumor, she had to take that medicine. So she took the medicine. At the time, there was no damage, but she was able to remove that tumor. And they, like a few years later, is when we started noticing little things, her getting sick, and then when I finally moved back home, and after all this, I started noticing even more how sick she was. And my mom was the type of woman who took care of everybody else before herself. Right? She was the caretaker of the entire family, not just our immediate family, the entire family. So I like, Mom, what's going on? You know, I'm sick, you know, but nothing, the medicines, the doctors can't help, and blah, blah, blah. So it got to the point where we're noticing, like, she was really, really weak. You know, she couldn't do a lot of things. She was out of breath sometimes, you know, just from just sitting there and you know, Mom, what's going on? Mom, like, so it ends up being March, the beginning of March, Mom has a doctor's appointment, and she can't even make it. She's like, I can't. I'm tired. I'm just out of it. Like, I can't make this appointment. So the doctor's like, oh, we'll reschedule. Right. So then they reschedule. The next day, Mom's even worse. Right. And she's like, something's wrong. I don't feel right. I don't feel good. I was like, oh, that's it. You said something's wrong. We're calling an ambulance.
Was she in pain?
She was in, I'm not going to say immediate pain, like straight pain, but it was a discomfort she was feeling.
Okay.
Right. And at the time Mom's getting sick, I noticed my brother Steve was getting sick. little things from him too, right? Like he was angry. You know, his depression was starting to set in. His anxiety was through the roof.
And what was causing like that anxiety and depression on your brother?
It was just multiple
things.
Just multiple things, man. Just, you know, the whole relationship with his kids and his ex-wife, things going on at home with mom, you know, the guilt of dad still, you know, and I Steve was, to me, tell real quick, Steve was my hero. He was my little brother, but he was the man I wanted to be, right? He was a man, he was a father that I had wanted to be. He was a guy you wanted in your corner if anything went down. Right? He was loyal. He was funny. He was strong. He was sarcastic, but he was a man's man. ¿Verdad? Like, you can ask any of my friends, man, who knew my brother. They're gonna tell you the same thing. Steve's that dude that you wanted next to you, behind you, around you at all times. So to see him in that state was crazy. Like, he was the strongest person I knew. And to see him that way was unfamiliar to me. So mom gets taken to the hospital. You know, the ambulance comes over, picks her up, and she's on the stretcher. And at the time, my brother, I couldn't leave his side. Right? His anxiety was that bad that I had to stay next to him. So I'm sitting down next to him, and we're outside on the patio, and mom's getting wheeled out. She looks over at us, and she's like, I love you, boys. Love you too, Mom. Mikey, take care of your brother. I said, I got him, Mom. I got him. Okay, take care of him. I love you. She goes down, gets put in the ambulance. They take her to the hospital. She ends up being admitted. Enzyme stuff in her blood, all this stuff was crazy, like sickness, like it was just through the roof. So she was admitted. And my brother and I were at home. We're at home, and mom's husband, he calls us. He's like, hey, the doctor wants everybody here. Why? What's going on? Your mom's getting worse. What do you mean? You just said yesterday she was fine. Well, you know, overnight, you know, whatever. Okay. I couldn't go. I couldn't leave my brother. And my brother hated hospitals. He hated hospitals with a passion. He could never go into a hospital. So we're at home. And it's March 7th. And we get a call. My mom's husband. You guys need to get here now. You guys have to get here right now. Your mom needs you guys here. And we couldn't. We couldn't go. My brother wouldn't go. He couldn't make it. A few hours later, we get the call that mom passed. So the last words she said to us in person was, Mikey, take care of your brother. Oh, I will, Mom. I got him. I will. Right? So me and brother are at home, and brother's crying, and I have to be strong. I have to be strong for him. So we're at home. People are calling. People are texting. People are showing up. Our cousins showed up. Some of our friends showed up. Joe showed up. And Steve's like, I don't know what to do now. Like, mom's all I had. Right? And I was like, bro, you have me. I'm right here. I know, but mom was all we had. And I was like, I know, but we have each other. Growing up, our parents always told us, you're your brother's keeper. Take care of one of another. That's all you have is each other. Right? So me and Steve were closer than anything. We were anytime we went somewhere, it was like, oh, here come the boys. Mike and Steve. Here come the boys. Oh, the boys are on their way. The boys are going to help us. The boys this, the boys, right? Always. It was me and Steve. So it got to the point where brother was just too weak. You know, he was going through all his illnesses, issues and stuff. And losing mom just added to that. You know, the depression set in for him. The anxiety was through the roof. So we were just like, we have to keep going. By this time, brother had told himself, I have to make changes. I have to make eating changes, physical changes. You know, I got to do more active stuff. He started seeing a doctor. But ultimately, it was too late. There was already a lot of damage done to his heart. His heart was operating between 15 and 25% of what it should have been. His health issues were at the highest they had been. And for him to make those changes that late wouldn't have helped. So then, come April, we're back to work. He's not working, but I'm at work because, you know, the bills don't stop. I'm at work. He's at the shop with me, you know, our family business. And he's just sitting there, and, you know, he has his bad days, more bad days than good days. But it was eye-opening. You know, I wasn't used to seeing him like that, like as weak as he looked and felt, you know, and so the day came. He's like, hey, man, we need some groceries at the house. Can you order them? I go, yeah, I got you. I already ordered them. We can pick them up when we leave the shop. He said, all right. So we're on our way to H-E-B, and he's like, hey, can you get me a Burger King? I've been craving a Burger King. I said, yeah, I got you. I pulled in, and I got me a little dollar burger, and I got him a meal, right? And we're in the parking lot of H-E-B, and we're eating before we're going to pick up our stuff and head home. Right, so we're there in the van talking, and he's like, I miss Dad. I miss Mom. I go, I do too, bro, but, you know, we have each other. I kept telling him that. We have each other. You know, and you still have me, bro. And he's like, I know, but I miss Dad and Mom. You know, and then little things that would happen at the house, and he'd be like, look, the light's flickering. It's Dad. He's calling me. Oh, that light's blinking over there. It's Mom telling me she's ready. Like little things like that, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, that's Mom and Dad, bro. They're talking to me. That's how they talk to me. I go, it's not, bro. It's just a faulty light, or, you know, the bulb's gonna die soon or whatever. And I just kept pushing it off, and then he would tell me, you know, those two words that you never really want to hear is, I'm tired. He kept telling me, Mikey, I'm tired. I'm tired, bro. And I'm like, I know, we're gonna get home, you know, we're gonna lay down, whatever. No, I'm not that tired. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. In this moment in time, when all this was happening, when he started getting sick with Mom, they were both hearing gospel music, right? And, you know, he would see gospel readings, you know, sermons, scriptures, and things like that on YouTube videos, and, you know, church events from different churches around the world, and, you know, little things like that. And he started growing his faith again, right? And I would see it. He would read the Bible. He would, you know, hearing gospel music every day. And my brother went from like rap, rock, country, Spanish, Tejano, Norteño, whatever.
Yeah.
Straight into just gospel. Nothing else but gospel music the last few months. So we're at HEB and we're hearing some Zach Williams on the radio. And he's like, I'm just tired, Mike. I go, I know, brother. I know. We're going to get home. I'll get off the groceries. Then you can go in and sit down in the chair and, put your feet up, whatever. He's like, I know. I'm just tired. So we load up the groceries. When we get home. And I told him, stay in here in the van. I'm going to get off the groceries. I reverse into the carport. I'm going to get the groceries off, put them on the counter, and I'll come and get you. He said, okay. So I get off the groceries. I take them inside, open the back door to the van, and I get off his walker. I get off his medicine bag, and I'm holding it. And I open the walker, set him up. I'm like, come on. He's like, hold on, man. I'm tired. I said, what do you mean? Like, we're home already, bro. Right now, you're going to sit down inside. You can rest. He's like, I'm tired, Mike. I go, I know. But we're home. Like, let's go inside. Okay, brother. And that's what he said. Okay, brother. So he gets the walker and he starts pushing it along. I'm behind him. I look over my shoulder and I was like, oh, I didn't close the door right. So I go back, close the door, close the back door. He's at the front door of the apartment. And he's there and he puts the walker in, right? Over the little border of the bottom of the door frame. He puts the walker in and he takes one step in and he's bringing over his second leg to come in, and his toe hits it and he falls. Now his biggest fear was to fall. So he fell down. I dropped everything in my hand. I roll him over a bit and he's panicking. He's scared. And he's like, Mikey, help me. Help me. And I was like, I'm going, bro, I'm going. And I'm rolling him around, and I have him on his back at this point, but I can't pick him up. I was having some bad shoulder pain from an old injury, and I couldn't get fuerzas to grab him and pick him up. I'm like, hold on, Steve, hold on. Let me call Manny. Manny lives down the street. So I call her friend Manny, and I was like, bro, Steve fell. I need you here now. On my way. And I'm screaming for help at this point because Steve's screaming for help. So there's other apartments next to our little apartment, and I'm like, help, help, anybody help. And it just so happened that the landlord was getting home and one of the neighbors was getting home, right? So Manny got there right as they were getting there. So Manny gets in there, tries to come in, tries to help me pick him up. When we notice it, that Steve's not breathing anymore, right? So we're sitting there. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, help, help. And Manny's doing CPR. At the same time, my landlord walks in, and he jumps in to help Manny do CPR. And then the neighbor jumps in. So they're rotating, giving mouth-to-mouth, doing CPR. Mm-hmm. I'm on the phone with the ambulance people and giving directions on how to get to the apartment. And I tell the landlord, who's related to Joe, I was like, get Joe over here now. I need Joe here right now. So he called Joe. Joe showed up a few minutes later. I had called my cousins to get to the house. I didn't know what to do. Now, in my previous jobs, I was trained on CPR. I knew everything I had to do for CPR. But in that moment, I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to save my brother. So the ambulance guys get there, the firefighters get there, and they're like, we need to put him in the gurney. We need to take him to the ambulance. We need to, and what hospital? And I was like lost, right? Like I had,
You were not thinking straight.
yes. So I was, any hospital, I don't care. Just get him to the hospital. You know, he's got this issue, this, telling him, and they're doing compressions, CPR, and they hooked him up, and they got him in the ambulance. And a few minutes later, one of them steps out, and he's like, we got a pulse, Edinburgh Regional. So we all jump in vehicles, and we head down to the hospital, and we're waiting in the lobby. And I myself have worked in the hospital as a security officer, so I know the hospital setting.
Mm-hmm.
So family for Steven, and I go, I'm right here. And they told me, step into this room. And I automatically knew what that was. I knew in that moment I had lost my brother. So they came in, doctor came in, and he's like, Mr. Peña? Yeah. He's like, your brother came in with a small heart rate, low pulse. We did everything we could. His body didn't respond to anything. Unfortunately, we lost your brother. And I broke down. The worst I had ever broke down in my life. Now, in this moment in time, I needed my brother because I didn't get to grieve my dad. And I definitely didn't get to grieve my mom. Now, to be hit with a third one within a month of losing our mom, I lost my brother. And I didn't know how to grieve. I didn't know what to do. So I was sitting there, right, in the hospital, just hearing everybody come in and out, hugging me, saying, they're sorry, condolences, and I didn't know how to react. Right? I know I was talking, I was acknowledging everybody, but I wasn't in there.
Yes.
I wasn't in that moment. I was watching everything like an outer body experience, but I was watching everything happen, but I wasn't.
You were in shock.
I was just like, okay, this happened, right? And I went into the room where brother was, and I was able to hold his hand and tell him, I'm sorry, Steve. I'm sorry, brother. I broke my promise. I know I promised you, and I broke it. Now, weeks before, he had asked me to make him a promise. And growing up, our dad told us, you're a man of your word. You have to keep your promises. So brother told me, make me a promise, Mike. I go, what? And when it's my time to go, don't let him take me to the hospital. Just let me go. I said, I promise, brother, I'm not going to let him take you. You're going to be here. And I broke that promise. I broke that promise to him. And I didn't know what to do. I sat there for a while realizing that I broke the promise. And it hit me again that I had told Mom, I got him. I got him, Mom. He's in my hands. I got him. Don't worry. And I had just lost him. I didn't know what to do. I sat there for a while and I was just lost in that moment. And I just cried. All I could do was cry. And think those thoughts of, what am I going to do now?
And tell me a little bit more, like, what happened after, once you already found out that your brother died?
So, like, at that moment, my world had, paused. Like, I didn't know what to do, what was going to happen. I didn't know anything. I was just going through the motions, as they say. Dark days hit me hard. Depression hit me hard. My anxiety, you know, I was alone. Like I had never really been alone. You know, there was mom, dad, me, and Steve. And at this point, it was just me. And if you've never been alone and by yourself, it's an ugly feeling. So, you know, I would have people, my cousins, family, friends reach out to me. Mike, you doing okay? We're going to go eat. Do you want us to get you something? And I would just be like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. So then, you know, a few days had passed and I showed up back to work and just to keep myself occupied, right? Just got to keep busy.
Yeah.
So then it got to the point where I was just like, okay, going to work, doing this, going to work, doing this, going to work, doing this. And I would just work, eat at work and go home, eat at home and sleep. Just constant. And then, you know, little things, people would reach out to me, read this Bible verse, hear this song, you know, little things like that. And now at this point in my life, I'm like, that was God working through people to reach me. Because I was mad at him.
Okay.
You know, I lost everything in that moment.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do I don't need him. He took everything.
Yeah.
So he was using people to reach me through gospel music, Bible verses, little things, right?
Yeah.
So I had to make a choice, right, to live. Because I would go back and tell myself, save me or take me. That's what I told myself when I was in the hospital in ICU. Save me or take me. So he saved me. And it wasn't until a few weeks after brother passed that I realized why he saves me. He saved me because I had to be there in the end for my mom and my brother. He knew I was the strongest between us. You know the saying of he doesn't give you things you can't handle. In the moment when I was in ICU and being save me or take me mindset, I didn't understand. When I got out of rehab and I was coming home, I still didn't understand. I lost mom. I lost Steve. And for a while, I didn't understand. And then I was having a conversation with my cousins, and it was like, he gave you your toughest battles, and you won.
Amen.
Right? You beat everything he threw at you. Why not thank him? Why not go to him? And in my head, I'm like, well, I'm still mad at him. He took everything. Why should I go to him? And then it started clicking, right? I was hearing my brother's gospel playlist one day, and, you know, it was like certain songs hit different. You know, it would make me feel different ways. And it'd be like random thoughts, right? Like just randomly a song would pop into my head, and I'd be like, okay, I got to do that. I got to live. Right? I have to live because he saved me to be here in the end for them. And it kept playing on in my head, right? So I woke up one day, I was hearing some of my brother's playlist, and I was just like, you're not beating me. Depression, you're not going to win. Anxiety, you're not beating me. You're not going to win. The devil, you're not going to win. I'm not letting you win. It's my life. I'm living it the way I have to live it from here on out. Right? So I made the choice to start eating better, seeing a doctor regularly, seeing a therapist to deal with my depression and anxiety. And I never really understood mental health, right? You know, you hear the stigma of mental health men with mental health issues.
Yeah.
You know, you're a man. You're not supposed to talk about it.
Yeah.
You're a man. You got to hide it deep down inside.
Yeah. You're supposed to be strong.
Being strong is going and seeking help.
Mm-hmm.
Being strong is going and finding the scripture that helps you get through the day.
Amen.
Being strong isn't what it used to mean. You know, it takes courage to get up every morning knowing you don't want to. But he gave you the day. So be strong and get through it. Being strong is, today's the day I don't want to do nothing, but today's the day he gave me, and I'm going to live it for him. Right? And, you know, all those you know, the therapy stuff I was going through, the venting volt. Yeah. Venting I was doing with my therapist, you know, and then it really helped. Mm-hmm. Right? And little things I noticed, you know, my mindset was changing. Yeah. You know, I wasn't as angry. My depression wasn't as strong. My anxiety was lessening every day. Mm-hmm. And then I just started doing better, getting better. You know, I started doing, you know, just started seeing little changes in my life. Mm-hmm. After going through the worst changes of my life.
And around this time, you were getting closer to God?
I was seeking him more, but not as much as I should have. Okay. I knew he was there. I understood he was walking with me, but I didn't acknowledge it, I guess, as much as I should have. But and I started, you know, I started, you know, seeing these little things and accepting what had happened, coming to terms with what had happened. Yeah. Right. And forgiving him for what had happened, but not forgiving him as like a person forgives another person. Like, yeah, I understand you did what you did to get me through what I have to go through, to lead me into where I need to be led, right? To take me to where I have to be in this situation I'm in now. And I understand that in that moment, his plan was to take me through the hardest part of my life to be able to get to the next part of my life. I still don't understand where it is, but it's his plan and I'm trusting it. You know, I walk with him in it. Whatever it may be, Lord, whatever it is, I'm right here. Use me. Yeah. And I remind myself of that. Use me, Lord. I'm right here. So, you know, my best friend, Joe, he went through the hardest part of his life, right? And he was there for me in my hardest days. So I had to be there for him in his hardest days. Yeah. You know, Joe and I have known each other since elementary. Mm-hmm. We're more brothers now than friends, right? I call him, text him, everything. His son is my nephew. His wife is my sister. They mean everything to me. And when they went through the hardest part of their life, I was right there with them. And I would push him. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd send him random songs that my brother would hear. Hey, bro, hear this song. Steve would hear it. It's a great song. And he'd send me something back. You know, another song that he had heard that my brother had sent him. You know, and we were just shooting back and forth, gospel songs, verses, scripture, you know, things like that. And I was starting to find like a peace and understanding of what was going on, right? Yeah. And then I met someone, right? She came into my life after knowing her for so long. She came into my life and completely turned my life around. And she helps me get through those dark days that I still have. You know, I'm human. I'm a man.
Yeah.
I still have dark days. But she keeps me grounded. She keeps me in my faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something I needed. And she came along at the right time. So then, you know, one day Joe comes up to me and he's like, I'm thinking of doing a Bible study. I said, what? A Bible study? He's like, yeah, bro, Bible study. I go, I'm down. Let's do it. Meet me at my house, right? So we showed up. I showed up here and we did a Bible study. And it felt good, right? Like it felt good going through the Bible again. Like I said, growing up in the church, if I put everything together, I'm going to say I've gone through the Bible maybe 5 times front through back, you know, at least 5 times.
Wow, you read like the whole entire Bible?
If I were to add up every Sunday, every know, vacation Bible school, everything I've done in my life through the church, I'm going to say it's at least 5 times. Wow. So I knew the stories of the Bible, but I didn't understand. ¿Verdad? Like I didn't understand what the meaning was behind that story. Right? So going into this Bible studies, it was changing things like that, ¿verdad? Then we went over to Pandora's Box. And that Bible study changed it for me. You know, Joe called me. He's like, hey, you know, there's a tattoo place that's doing a Bible study. You want to go? And I said, a tattoo place? What do you mean? Like a tattoo parlor? Like a shop? He's like, yeah, bro, there's a shop doing Bible study. And then they have, you know, promotional tattoos, religious tattoos. I said, what? All right, let's go. Let's see what it's about, right?
Yeah.
So we walked in one day not knowing what to expect. Like a tattoo shop.
Yeah.
You've been there.
Yeah,
you know, and it completely caught us off guard, right? So that day we went, there was a guys from the Remarkable Church. They were leading the songs, the sermon. They were playing a song, and I hadn't heard this song since I was in the youth group. Right? And I was like, I remember this song. And I was singing every word for word, bro. Like every word I was singing along to. And I'm like, what? Like I still know this song? Like I hadn't heard this in 15 plus years, right? And then they did the sermon, and one of the topics in the sermon was the prodigal son. Now you and I have talked,
yes,
right? You know, my testimony, and I myself feel like the story of the prodigal son resonates with me a lot.
Yeah, same.
You know, he did everything he did, went away, lost everything, and came back. Right? I feel that story connected with me so much. And Joe was sitting next to me, and he was like, bro. The entire time we're doing this, we're just back and forth, right? Like, and it was connecting so much, right? Like everything connected. So at the end of the service, the Bible study, I go up to the guy and I was like, hey man, question. Did you guys have it planned of what songs to play? He's like, nah, man, to be honest, I just started playing a tune and that song came up. And I was like, bro, I hadn't heard that song in a long time. He's like, really? I was like, well, both of those songs I hadn't heard in a long time. And then I get to the guy who led the sermon and I was like, hey man, I want you to know that just last night, I was looking about the prodigal son and how coincidental it is that you bring it up in your little sermon tonight. I go, I take heart to that story of the prodigal son because it's everything I'm going through right now. Right? So on the drive home, Joe and I are talking and I was like, that was completely different from what I was expecting. He's like, yo, me too. Like it was different, right? And I was like, it was more of a sermon testimony than it was a Bible study.
Okay.
Right? But it was so enjoyable. Right? So then we started bouncing ideas off of each other. And I think that night, our path led us to another direction. The direction we're in now. You know, big ministries. And it something clicked, that night. Like, I felt in God's favor and God's grace. Like, I felt closer than I had ever felt in a long time. Right? So I to me personally, I can't walk into a church because I feel judged. And I know I shouldn't, and it feels that way though. And it shouldn't feel that way, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, of course.
When I walked into that tattoo shop, I felt welcomed. I felt like warmth from the people. Felt invited, and I hadn't felt that in a church. I still haven't in a long time. ¿Verdad? But I was telling Joe, like, let's see where we can go with just our testimonies. Like, let me give and he's always told me, your testimony, Mike, will break people, but lead them to where they need to be led.
Amen.
You have a strong testimony. You've been through the most out of all of us. Your testimony can make the changes people need to make. The people need to hear your testimony. So let's give it, right? And the things I've learned, the things I've learned of going through all of this is the good Lord won't give you what you can't handle. Is one, right? He lets you go through those things so you can get tested. You get tested in the situations we're going through. It lets you know, I've learned that his love is relentless. It's always with us.
Yeah.
He never gives up on us. It's us who give up on him. And that's where I lost my way back then. Healing through everything is possible through Christ. It may take some time. It's not going to happen one day to the next. But healing is possible. After everything I've been through, in this point in my life, I'm not completely healed, but I'm better than where I used to be. And the prodigal son story, man, like, I felt lost after I left the church. I lived in the world, the fast life, and I lost everything. And slowly, through him, his plan, I've come back.
Amen.
I've come back. I'm seeking him, but not just him. I found love. I found peace and understanding. And his arms are always open for us. We just have to seek him.
Yeah.
And if anything, like, I'm far from perfect. I don't try to live the perfect life. It's impossible.
Yeah.
But I try to live a life for him, through him. Right? He saved my life. He pulled me out. Saved me in my darkest times. Got me through my darkest days. For me to be able to sit here now on your podcast telling you my story, my testimony.
Thank you.
And I have 3 angels that watch me, watch my nephews, watch my son, my mom, my dad, my brother. They're always with me, walking with me and the Lord. And my final thing is, if you feel that you're going through a dark time, a dark season, as some people say, the darkness, there is light. There is light. It's his love, his grace. It's him. Find him, and you'll find peace.
Amen.
And it's it's in the Bible. We're follow little things in the Bible. It's not, everyone thinks the Bible is just a book of different things, but different people.
Yeah.
It's a guide.
It is.
Use it as a guide. Your life will change. Use the Bible as a guide.
It's just how people say there's no manual to life. And I'm like, well, the Bible is.
The Bible, definitely. The Bible is definitely a man. If you can follow that, your life's going to change.
Awesome, man. It's a powerful testimony, man. I'm so thankful to have you here, and I really do appreciate it. And, I was going to ask, where can the people follow you, also to the Big Ministry?
So we are on Big Ministry. We are on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We're on all of those. We do our Bible study every Wednesday, usually 8 o'clock. We're on. We do different topics. We read the Gospels. We're going through Acts right now. As of lately, we've been going into, I guess, a breakdown of how we feel of certain people, certain things in the Bible.
Yeah.
We do encourage people to reach out. I mean, we're here. You guys want to talk. You guys want to vent. You guys want to, we're here to hear you guys out. You want to come on our podcast and join us. We've had you on ours.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, man, because it's something new to us, but it's something as well that if any part of our hour-long conversation can help you find or seek, by all means, join us. Come with us. Follow us on this journey. We're building community, man.
Yeah.
It's asked of us in the Bible to go out and find and build.
Amen.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And honestly, man, you guys are doing an amazing job. You, Joe, and his wife as well. So I'm really proud of you guys. And you guys have always been a motivation, and I love it, So don't ever stop, And Mikey, you're being an inspiration to me. Because even though through everything you still went through, you still had faith.
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate it so much, brother. And if you're watching this, guys, and this really touched you, share it with somebody so they can always know that there's still hope, And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe so you won't miss the next one. And I just want to say thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. And I appreciate it. And see you guys till next time.
Later, guys. Thank you.